Welcome to another episode of Tips for Tackling Your Research Paper. This one is about parentheticals. And it's updated for APA 7. Now, are you familiar with the term parenthetical? You might be. These are also called in-text citations. You'll hear me use the terms interchangeably. The reason in-text citations, which are when you in the text cite something, the reason they're sometimes called parentheticals is because they're in parentheses. Get it? Parenthetical? Parentheses? Okay. In-text citations are where you give credit for ideas you'll use in your paper. For the most part, APA parenthetical citations look like this. In parentheses, you put the author's last name, a comma, and then the year. Okay, and then you close the parentheses. You make sure that the punctuation of the sentence, okay, comes after the parenthetical. So take a look at this just to get yourself familiar with it. Okay. It's good to remember the basic way to cite, and we'll look at it again, but I also want to go over what happens when you don't have all the information, or you don't have like a standard type of source to reference. So buckle down because a lot of information is coming. Now, the point of an in-text citation is to be able to point the reader to the reference page. Okay, the reason you have a reference page is so that I have all the information I need to go and find the original source. So like sometimes I'll see people posting online that reference a study that was done or something, and they'll say things like students have different styles of learning. Well, that's not true. Okay, so I want to go and look at the source they used to justify that opinion. When I read your papers, there are some things I'll be like, really? Or I'll be like, oh my goodness, that's so fascinating. And then I'll want to go look that up so I can learn more or check it out. Your in-text citations help me do that. And they help me do that by looking like this, okay? You're paraphrasing a source, okay? Note, this is not a direct quotation. There are no quotation marks. This is a paraphrase, okay? So what Duval in 2020 really said was something like, the slithering serpent is a fascinating species, right? So I paraphrase that. Snakes are cool, okay? So this is a paraphrase, okay? And I'm saying who said it, Duval. I'm putting a comma, and I'm saying when they said it so that I can go get that information. Now, what if you don't have an author? Okay, you default to the very next thing in the reference entry. So that would be on the reference page, right? The next thing in an APA reference entry is the article title. Only use the first few words of the article. Again, it's first few words. So if I have my article here, okay, there it is, okay, I shorten it, okay? I took the first 3 words, okay? I put it in quotation marks because when we talk about titles in articles, they have quotation marks, right? I make sure the comma is within the quotation marks, and then I do the same thing, I add the year. If you have an audio recording, you do the same thing you've done for these past 2 slides, okay? Now let's go through a couple other situations, okay? What if you interviewed someone, okay? Sometimes you'll do this, you'll get an expert and you'll interview them. Okay, it's still the general principle, but you need to note that it's a personal communication. So here you add my first initial, so you do N. Duval, comma, personal communication, comma, and then you put the date specifically, not just the year. So December 25th, 1979. This was my first Christmas. I thought you'd appreciate that. Okay? Now, let's say you have 2 authors. So Mr. Nielsen and I said snakes are cool in an article we wrote together. So you put our last names together, but use this ampersand here, okay? So it's the same. Our 2 names together with an ampersand, a comma, the year, and parentheses, okay? While we're here, though, let's make ampersand the word you need to remember for the end of this quiz. Okay, what if there are 3 or more authors? Okay, so say I wrote an article with Mrs. Piazza and Mrs. Billington, okay? We don't cite all three of us, though. What we do is we cite just the first person et al. Okay, basically means and everybody else. Okay, so Duval et al. Okay, this lumps everyone together. Notice you need this period at the end of et al. It stands for something I forget. Just don't tell anybody I forget because I'll forget. Okay, so do that, period, comma, the year. Okay, so again, this is normal, but this is how you do 3 or more authors. Now, APA 6 had a different rule for 3 to 5 than it did for 6 or more. APA 7 is the exact same thing. So 3 or more, 6 or more, do the same thing. First name, et al., period, comma, then the year. Okay. Now, what if you don't have a date? It happens sometimes, especially with web things. Okay, so what you do is you signify that there's no date by abbreviating no date, N period D period. So you just put no date. We get it. Okay. What if you have a corporate or group author? Please note, this is not that you've just found something on a website and you're going to put the company who produced the website. No, no, no. This is for things like if the American Lung Association put out a report on tobacco and cancer. Okay, it's that kind of thing. So it's not just that there's no author, so I'm going to use the website. No, no, no. This is when a company wrote it. Okay, so you have a corporate or group author. The first time you spell out the whole thing. Okay, so the whole thing. Now, if it's a short thing, like just the word Comcast, then every time you put Comcast, Comcast, Comcast. If it's long, like an association, you spell it out the first time, but then the second and every time after that, you abbreviate it. Okay, first time, the whole thing. Second time, abbreviate it, unless, of course, it's a really short thing. Okay, then you can keep that one word each time. Okay. What if you're citing someone that your article cited? So this would be like if I was reading an article that Natalie Duval, who's a fabulous person, by the way, wrote. Okay, but in Natalie Duval's article, she said Kurt Nielsen went on to talk about the slithering serpents and how fabulous they were. Okay, so it was Kurt Nielsen who said what I paraphrased here. Okay, so it was him that did that. Okay, so it's easier often to put his name here and then the paraphrase, okay? But then you say, as cited in Duval, then the year, okay? So this is the normal part here, but you put as cited in to let me know it wasn't Duval who said it, but it was somebody who talked to Duval who said it. Now, if I didn't want to put Nielsen said here, right here I would put Nielsen, comma, as cited in Duval. Okay, remember, the author always follows the same normal format, so it's the author who's right before the comma and the year. So I can either say Nielsen said blah, 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 or I can say Nielsen here as cited in Duval. Okay, what if it's a direct quotation? This is what you've been waiting for because everything up until this point was a parenthetical. Guys, in general, please don't use direct quotations. You only use direct quotations if you can't say it any better, okay? And usually you can paraphrase it and make it fit in better, blah, 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 okay? But what do you do if you have a direct quotation, okay? Then you add the page number, okay? Or you add the paragraph number. So now you keep this the same, right? Duval, comma, the year, then you do another comma, and if it is a page number, so this would be if there was a PDF or if you're using a book that had a page number, you put P dot the number, okay? If you're using a web source or something that doesn't have paragraph numbers, you literally count it yourself. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And wherever that direct quotation is, you put para, period, the number, and then close it up. Okay, literally, you just have to count the paragraph number. Just wanted to reinforce that. Okay. Okay, what if you mentioned something in the text? Okay, so like what if I said, Duval said snakes are cool. So I mentioned a component that usually goes back here, Duval. Well, then I take it out because I put it up here. Or what if I said in 2005 it was discovered that snakes are cool? Well, since I mentioned 2005 up here, I don't need to have it back here. Or maybe I said in 2005 Duval said snakes are cool. If I didn't have a direct quotation, I don't need to put an in-text citation because it's already in the text, the citation, all right? But if I didn't do that, if this is a direct quotation, then I need the parenthetical and I put the page number, okay? Take a look at this just to be sure. Now, that was a lot of information. You can always come back and watch this again. And I hope you remember that word I said earlier. Hey, keep up the great work. Let me know if you have any questions.